guarding man-to-man, but there were times I had to get him man-to-man.
And your favorite team that you guys love to face in your division?
Yours.
Yes, sir.
Like the games like you play against the Raiders, you might get 3 sacks. When they had Jamarcus Russell, which I did. So I got 3 sacks on them in the first half, right?
Yeah.
And I'm ready, and they take Tommy Maddox.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to West War Room Rivals. We are coming at you with a new episode here, going over Week 7 AFC West and League Recon stuff. Before we get started, let's get a quick roll call. Shovix, kick us off.
Yep, I am Austin, representing the Streaking Chiefs.
And Cory, representing the first place Broncos.
I'm Matt, also representing the first place Streaking Broncos.
First place. All right, guys. And I'm Cody, representing Raider Nation. We're down bad, boys. It was not a great Sunday. We're going to get into that. Austin, thank you for that. Before we get started, we do want to give a shout out to JBW Solutions, our partners. They're veteran-owned, community-driven, safety-focused. And they are also the studio that we are recording out of, JBW Solutions Studio. So welcome. We appreciate you guys for joining us. This evening, we've got a lot to talk about. We have Chiefs to talk about as they are getting hot at the wrong time. Broncos come from behind win. Raiders absolute belt-to-ass game that they received from the Chiefs, which was not great. However, though, before we continue, did not watch last week's episode with Kamika Mitchell. You guys need to go back and watch that. I posted a reel today. I was not there, unfortunately. I had some stuff that came up. But, guys, what was it like getting that to sit down with Kamika Mitchell?
Man, it was awesome. He's such a humble guy, and the respect he had for all of his teammates and coaches. I don't think he had anything negative to say about any of his experiences. And he brought up the beast mode run in Seattle, and he even made a lighthearted comment. We thought it was pretty funny. He was like, it probably would have been a different story if I was in there. But it was so awesome though. It was so awesome to hear his story, and great guy. I can't wait to have him back.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't know. Obviously, some jabs we took at the Raiders were enjoyable, but it was kind of – I enjoyed, hearing his point of view and his experience playing for Spags, kind of the Spags wizardry, how he got his sack against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, going against the grain, and how Spags had set that up for months and months in advance for that one moment. So I thought it was really cool. But, yeah, great guy, great stories. Just absolute gem of a human being.
Yeah, and a couple good stories about Coach Vermeil as well. Just another player raving about playing for Coach Vermeil. Loved the dinner parties as well. Yes, he did take a couple jabs at the Raiders, but he also did say he was a Raiders fan growing up as well. Right. Just because his personality kind of fit with what the Raiders fans were, talking about kids flipping them off and grandmas flipping them off in the Oakland Coliseum. So, yeah, man, it was a good experience talking with another former player, obviously, and the reels that you posted kind of show his personality, that kind of funny side that he has, but also at the same time, he was intense. He was an intense player. He wasn't shying away from admitting his intensity, calling him the animal. But he also had the human element of, what it was like hanging out with his teammates outside of football. So, it was a little mix of everything. We were able to talk about the Super Bowl, and Matt was able to let him know that his mom and sister were Patriots fans. So he was even more humble that he was able to be part of the reason that Tom Brady didn't get a Super Bowl, and it was awesome being able to experience that with him.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, and ironically, the reel I posted earlier today on our socials, it was him shitting on how he hates the Broncos. So I love that because, I think everyone else can agree that, Shanahan for sure, and I know that he's specifically called out Shanahan, not because he doesn't respect him, but because, he did have a tough team. And, Drake Plummer, when he was with the Broncos, that team was always tough to play. And so, during his time in the AFC West, at least from when I was watching the clip, it was like, yeah, you always knew that you were going to get this hard battle, and that was one of the teams he didn't like facing. And I think part of that is, the old Raiders in him, because I think back in the early 2000s, I remember the Raiders like in rival like team that we despise was the Broncos, and then over time it's kind of shifted to the Chiefs. But I remember growing up, it was more the Broncos and Raiders heat more so than the Chiefs and the Raiders. Chiefs and Raiders have been, I would say, since like 2016 to 17. But I remember the Broncos heat from late 90s, early 2000s when he would have been playing. So that kind of jives with like him growing up as a Raider fan, hates the Broncos, and I loved hearing that. So
then I think my favorite part of the whole thing, and I don't remember exactly how it was, but he was talking about going up against Willie Rope and Will Shields in practice and how they would latch onto him, and then they would just start laughing at him while they were blocking him, going stride for stride with laughing at him, and he was just kind of like, what am I supposed to do here? I do agree with the Broncos and Raiders, and Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree did their best to try to keep that alive, obviously with Aqib snatching some chains and whatnot, but then it's been downhill for the Raiders ever since.
Yeah, and that actually kind of leads me right into the first segment, and let me get queued up here because now we're fancy. We've got graphics now. So I'll kick off the first segment here, obviously, with the Silver and Black Ops report. Yes, that took me a long time to edit, by the way. So I think there's nothing more that I could really add to the Raiders situation from what I haven't already talked about. I mean, since week one with the Patriots win, when, at the time, probably the height of like Raiders excitement with how this team looked and all that, right? And then since then, I can understand us losing to the Chargers. It's the Chargers division, we can come back. The Bears late second loss was kind of embarrassing just because of the way we lost with a Pete Carroll team. Didn't expect that to happen. Now, obviously, we've ran out the stadium with the Colts, with the Commanders, and now most recently the Chiefs. Now, at least the Commanders and Colts, I can see a little bit of the Raiders still kind of fighting, even though the game's out of play. I never thought like they gave up on the field. I mean, it was pathetic to see them lose to the Colts the way that they did. But I have to say Sunday, since my time being a Raiders fan, and since, as I mentioned, the kind of the heated rivalry that's been started with the Chiefs and the Raiders, again, since like I would say 2017 onward, I have never seen the Raiders quit on the field like they did. And that's exactly what they did. No way around it. They did not look ready to play. After their first drive where the Chiefs basically shut them out and they had this crazy long drive in the first quarter, I've never seen the Raiders give up so quickly before, which was kind of shocking to me. I was more frustrated, not that we had lost, because I'm going to be honest, guys, like when we do this show, it is a lot of fun to just kind of like toss a jab. Sometimes we mean it, sometimes we don't. It's more for entertainment and fun. Even for me, like I acknowledge the Chiefs are probably the number one team in the AFC West, and they'll probably win the division. I've been saying that even on our preseason shows. And now this Sunday, I was just more upset that we didn't even look like we were trying. Like we didn't look like we put in any effort. And not to say that we would have outlasted the Chiefs. Maybe we would have, who knows. But with how hot the Chiefs were coming in, with Rashee Rice coming back, all the weapons they had, I was not oblivious to know that like they're probably going to put up a lot of points, but we can at least like make it a tough game for them, make them like work for it. No, honestly, it was like a night off for them. They literally treated us like a junior high football team, which it's kind of disrespectful of junior high football teams to even say that. We look pitiful. Before we started recording, Austin, you told me that Geno Smith's PFP rating was higher than Patrick Mahomes, even though Patrick Mahomes was on the field for 42 minutes and 8 seconds. And Geno Smith actually got pulled from the game and inserted for Kenny Pickett because he was playing so badly and the offense was moving so poorly. I don't know why that deserves a higher grade than Mahomes, but the fact that that happened is pathetic. I see Geno Smith, who won't throw it more than 5 yards, and I get it. We're upset that he's turning the ball over because he needs more practice, and he's practicing throwing these picks really well, which is why he won't throw it more than 5 yards now. I feel bad for Ashton Genty, who had I think 80% of the team's yards from a rushing standpoint, because we had less than 100 yards of total offense. Pretty pathetic. That hasn't happened in, I think, 15 seasons, according to the NFL stats. The first shutout that we have let the Chiefs had on us happen the first time since 2011. In general, like, no matter how many bad head coaches we've had, bad regimes, I've never seen the Raiders quit like that on the field. This is not so much of a crash out as more of frustration of, like, I can live with being with a loss. I cannot deal with the Raiders just quitting. To me, that is like, then who's leading us? Who's making us get up to play these games hard? And what are we going to do to address this? And thankfully, we have a bye week to figure this all out. But now with rumors of like Max Crosby potentially being traded either Dallas, the Niners, whatever other team, I'm now like, we should, to do him a solid, because the Raiders are so pitiful. And I don't know if it's Pete Carroll. I don't know if it's Tom Brady. I have no idea if it's John Spytek. I don't know if it's Chip Kelly. But I feel like we're further back than when we had Josh McDaniels. And I don't know how long it'll be until we're semi-relevant. Now, I'm not saying Pete Carroll needs to go tomorrow. Honestly, like, let him ride out his 3 years. We'll see what happens. But it's not a great first year. And I think that's what's frustrating is he wants to compete. He said we were going to. We did not compete, not for 1 second, against the Chiefs. And that's what's frustrating as a Raiders fan. So I want to start that segment off, as intense as that was. I do want to kind of go around and get your thoughts, either from a football perspective, just and football fans in general, and then as a divisional foes to the Raiders. So, Matt, what were your thoughts from the 31-0 shellacking that the Chiefs put on the Raiders?
As a divisional standpoint, haha. That's all I got to say about that. But I mean, like, at the end of the day, you know, Cory and I, we can't laugh because over the last 8-9 years, this was us. We were the ones getting destroyed and walked out and embarrassed every game. So we feel your pain, but haha. You know, from a football standpoint, now I didn't really get to watch much of that game. I was kind of focused on other games. But
more competitive games.
More competitive games, yes.
Yeah.
But from what I was reading up on, and a lot of, like, you know, fan comments on like Instagram pages and things, that they were calling for Chip Kelly's head. And it's been like that the last couple of weeks. And in my opinion, Chip Kelly is like Pat Shurmur with the Broncos. You know, when Vic Fangio was head coach, at least the team was competitive under Vic.
Mm-hmm.
But with Pat Shurmur calling the plays, I mean, it was a comedy of errors. And that's what the Raiders are right now. They're just a comedy of errors. They're like a clown car. They're just falling apart. And it's starting. I really think it's Chip Kelly. I think Chip Kelly is the problem. I mean, it could be Pete Carroll as well, but Chip Kelly is just in over his head. He hasn't coached in the NFL in about, 10, 11 years or so. And it's showing. He's bringing what he brought in Philly to Vegas, and it's not working. It didn't work in Philly. It's not working here. And he's not changing anything up. And it's just, I don't know if the offense is too complex for Geno or any of the offense in general, but nobody's just clicking. And nobody is, even with Antonio Pierce and, like you said, Josh McDaniels, the team still seemed like they were unified, like they were together. They had each other's backs. Now it's just kind of like their bodies in a uniform collecting a paycheck. There was no fight. There was no willing, like, all right, cool, just call the play. I'll run the play. Throw me the ball. I'll catch it if I can. It's just kind of like, I'm here. They're just lifeless at this point. And I do think the problem is Chip Kelly, but now they're just dead inside. So now you have to find a way to build them back up. So now that's the other problem you have.
We have to resurrect a corpse, is what you're saying?
Pretty much. Bodies, right. Like I said, bodies just collecting a paycheck at this point.
Austin, what are your thoughts since it was your team that, you know, handed the Raiders their ass on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with Matt on that as a divisional opponent. Haha. Like, it was a work of beauty. Like, it couldn't have gone any better, looked any better. Like, that's one we're going to look back and just enjoy for years to come. As a Chiefs fan, you know, there was a couple of moments in the game where I'm like, the Chiefs are really good. But that went away really fast, and I'm like, this is honestly just playing a really, really bad football team. I didn't think I would think that with Pete Carroll. I mean, y'all know how I feel about Pete Carroll. This is all surprising to me. Like, you can have no talent, but I thought Pete Carroll would still have them kind of like flying around with effort. And you're not even getting that. You know, Jamal Adams made a couple good plays. Like, a couple of the veterans were still doing their thing, but nobody followed like suit. Like, it didn't, you know, energize the huddle or the sideline or the locker room. Like, I don't know, that it's surprising, honestly, especially, you know, you had a good win against the Patriots to start the year. I thought that would kind of, you know, set up for a decent season. But yeah, no, as a divisional fan, it's amazing. Couldn't be better. As a football fan, I don't want to say it's sad, but it's not fun. Especially when you have a legend like Pete Carroll. I'm not ready to say he's the problem yet, but he is the head coach. So he does have to, like, some of this does fall on him. How much, who knows, but you're the head coach. Some of this comes to you, whether it really is you or not. Like, you're the man in charge, quote unquote. So some changes have to happen during the bye, whether it's personnel, whether it's staffing, whether it's responsibilities for play calling or, you know, position groups, coaches, whatever. Something has to change because there's no way you can just continue rolling out what you're doing and be okay with it. Like, at this point, roll out different players, different play callers, and see what you have. Because at this point, you're kind of trying out for next year, unfortunately. Like, you're too far gone for this year. The team is not a team. You kind of got to start seeing what you got moving forward and what you have to build off of. So, as a football fan, it sucks. We really don't want to see anyone like this besides the Browns. Like, that's just usually what we can count on them for. So to see Pete suck, it's not fun. To see the Raiders suck, it's awesome. But I would still like to see some competitiveness. And it unfortunate for the Crosby injury because that at least always keeps some entertainment on the field. So kind of just a bad Sunday all the way around for Raider Nation. And it was beautiful.
Cory?
Yeah, so there was three things that kind of stood out to me during that game. One, Pete Carroll looked overwhelmed for the first time that I can ever remember Pete seem overwhelmed. Two, Ashton Genty kind of knocked it out of the park after the game when he said it's just a losing culture. It's been that way for a very long time. Now you're starting to see the players, need a rookie coming in and kind of airing out the frustration as far as, you know, who would have thought, you know, this running back rookie coming in saying it's a losing culture. So what does that really what's that tell you? They're not getting coached properly, right? You don't just come out and say that unless there's stuff going on behind the scenes that just aren't being said, right? So I think pay attention to that because that speaks louder. I mean, that stood out to me really, really like, whoa, holy cow. And then the third thing is I'm putting all this on Pete. I'll be the first to admit I thought Pete hire was really good and good for this team. But now I see a guy who is overwhelmed. He's losing control. He's letting things go that you would never think Pete would let go. There's no doubt in my mind if Geno played if this was Seattle, the Seattle days, Geno would have already been gone, right? He didn't allow stuff like this to happen. So this is 100% on Pete Carroll. You had the chance. You could have pulled the play calling from Chip Kelly. You could have made the move. Now I get it. It's early, right? But now it's starting to get late. Like you're almost to the second quarter of the season, and we're still having this discussion, right? Like it's getting louder each week. You know, fans see it. Everyone sees it. Like I'm not a Raiders fan, but I watch a Raiders game and I see it, right? The veterans are playing hard, but I think this is absolutely rock bottom for the Raiders. I get it. You beat the Patriots. We're talking about two teams who've gone completely separate directions, right? Like we're talking about the Patriots possibly winning their division. Okay, that's a lot. That's why we said after the first week, stop with the overreactions because now look at the Patriots. They're striving. They're thriving. Drake May looking like a real MVP, honestly. Mike Vrabel has the defense flying around. Their offense looks great. Booty, all those guys, Stephon Diggs. So they're making the right moves. Then you flip that back around. The Raiders had the skill position. Like, they had the pieces that I thought Pete could work with. It's not there. Unfortunately, he's in an organization who they cut early, right? Like, we've seen coaches get fired after 1 year with the Raiders frequently. And I think it's kind of heading in that direction. It's a fail for Tom Brady for his first experience as a minority owner. It's an epic fail on his part. I think when you think about the big picture here, I mean, what are you playing for now? It's rock bottom. You got to start selling off pieces. I think it would be the absolute right move to trade Max Crosby, load up on draft capital, start rebuilding that way. Cut ties with Geno Smith. It's not going to work. See what you have in these other guys. Use Ashton Genty as your building block, all around the offense. Use those draft picks to start building your offensive line and give Geno or whoever the quarterback is next season a fighting chance. So, yeah, I think in the end, the Raiders aren't really playing for much anymore. You have the pieces there that you could really – we talk about it a lot in baseball, right? Like, quit holding on to them. You can reload your farm system right now with just a couple players. You could trade Max Crosby and Jacoby Meyer, and you could rebuild a whole offensive line just like that. Then you can trade off pieces for, like, Jamal Adams isn't going to get you a high pick, but he'll get you those late round picks. Those are the gems, right? So you got to start making those moves now. So they should absolutely be sellers. And I know that they have teams who want what they have. Now's the time. If you truly, truly want to start rebuilding and call yourself and tell everyone that you're going in the right direction, you got to start selling off pieces right now. So that's what the Raiders need to do.
Yeah, I hate to say that you're right, but I'd be surprised if Max Crosby is a Raider by the end of the season. Not to say that he doesn't. I want him to leave. I want him to stay. I want him to be a Raider till the end for sure. But at this point, like, I can remember Max Crosby excitement meeting Pete Carroll post press conference, how amped up he was to be coached by Pete Carroll. It seemed like he was rejuvenated from the AP situation, from the McDaniel situation. If there's one player outside of maybe Derek Carr I can think of that deserves to have success in the Raiders organization or in the NFL, it's definitely Max Crosby, because he will change a team's dynamic. He's arguably the piece that if Dallas picks up now, maybe makes him a contender, because he's that pivotal on the defensive side, or whatever other team. Like, I know the Niners lost Nick Bosa. So imagine if Max Crosby was on that defense and they were still rolling in the NFC West. So, again, I wouldn't want that to happen, but I agree with you, Cory, that Raiders at this point, if they're not sellers at the deadline to recoup assets to build, I don't know what exactly we're doing. And truthfully too, like, I want some good quality, like day 2, day 3, day 4 draft picks. So that way we can build some talent, and also to work the talent that we did draft. Like, we have some rookies that we can play now and get some experience and get some exposure and get them better. I see other teams able to incorporate their rookies, and for some reason, I don't know if it's a Pete thing, which is ironic because he was willing to start Russell Wilson his rookie year. So I don't know why we can't do other rookies. Like, Darren Porter Jr. really hasn't seen the field that much this year, or fill in the blank of whatever the player. But anyways, I think I'm off this train though. We're on a bye week. So thankfully we can't lose on a bye week unless some news breaks, then Lord knows what'll happen. But
intercepted.
I just got breaking news, Cody.
No, you
Max
didn't.
Crosby to the Chiefs.
Not that. The bye week has already beat the Raiders 21-0.
The bye week has more first downs than the Raiders do.
Yeah, that is such a pathetic stat to have seen. I couldn't tell you. All right, I think we're going to close that chapter, because if I talk about the Raiders anymore, I'm going to crash out even further, because following my monologue, I basically got hot, like pissed off again. So I got to cool it back down. But we're going to move on to Austin's aerial attack now. So, Austin, this is your number one defense that you chose for the week following week 7. So the floor is yours, Austin.
Yeah, this is actually a tough one. I want to say the Chiefs, because I feel like that's the obvious pick, but it's actually going to be a 2-way tie this week. And it's going to be basically for the same reason. I'm going to go with the Niners, and I'm going to go with the Lions. The point being is
Lions for show.
Well,
Yeah,
and the Niners. I remember watching the Niners game, and I looked at my brother, and I'm like, they just went through all the starters for the Niners, and I've legitimately heard of one of them. Like they're like Fred Warner's out, Bosa's out, their D tackles are out, their secondary's out. Like, what is happening? And the same thing with the Lions. Like their entire secondary was hurt. Their entire starting secondary was hurt, and some of their backups were hurt. Like they were down to third string in practice, and they held Baker Mayfield in that offense to 9 points. You can say Baker didn't have his weapons. Baker's not had his weapons plenty of games and still did Baker Mayfield things. I don't like the Lions. I kind of enjoy the Lions, but they've been on my nerves for a couple weeks now. But what the Lions and Niners were able to do with basically entirely new starting defenses was impressive. And I want to point it out. It's because Robert Saleh and Shepard, the Lions' new defensive coordinator, we can kind of tie this into the Raiders. Those two coordinators, they got those dudes to play with energy and effort. They don't have the experience. I think one dude for the Niners had played 11 snaps in his 7 seasons, and they were all on special teams.
Yeah.
But they were flying around with energy and effort, and that's because those coaches, they knew it. They kept it simple. Go play free, go play with energy, go play with effort, and it showed. So yes, the Chiefs were dominant. Their defense, held the Raiders under 100 yards, only 3 first downs total. Raiders only had 30 plays. But truth be told, the Chiefs defense was healthy. Truth be told, the Raiders suck. I don't want to say that's how the game should have gone, but it should have been close to that. Raiders probably could have had a few more first downs and a few more yards is what was expected. But the NFL is not easy. And for two teams to bring in 7 or 8 plus new defensive starters in a week and excel and pull out wins against good teams, I think that deserves the aerial attack because that's a little more impressive and a little harder to do in the NFL. So maybe I didn't want to pour it on you, Cody, because the Chiefs, what they did was dominant. But what these guys, we always talk about if you get the opportunity, seize it. And there was a lot of players who just did that. Maybe not with these teams, but they may have gotten a little friendly contract, if they hit free agency or something. Like they have tape out there now. So they took the opportunity, ran with it, and I want to make sure, me specifically in our show, we recognize things like that because it's not easy. It's special to do.
And there's 2 players that and speaking on the 49ers and the Lions, there are 2 players that stuck out both. One, D. Winters for the 49ers, really like that guy.
Yep.
Now, he's obviously a big-time part of their defense, even when Fred Warner was there, but now he kind of goes into that Fred Warner role, which is obviously not easy to fill, but he was making really good plays the other night. Really good linebacker. So for him to be able to kind of slide in and kind of be his show now, that kind of shows a lot about what Robert Saleh is doing with that defense. And it's something the 49ers have been lacking the last couple seasons. I mean, they've had the offense that was kind of the offensive side was kind of the ones beat up, right? Now it's kind of a flip on the defense. And then that this white side for the Lions, there was multiple times where he just nutted up. Honestly, there was a couple, I think, in the end zone. Baker was trying to hit somebody, and this dude just right there and just knocks it out, making open field tackles. I think it was Troy Aikman kept calling. They kept saying it, and he was just like, "These guys are doing what they're supposed to do, right? It's the next man up mentality. No one's going to feel sorry that they're down all 4 of their starting secondary players, and their backups were starting to get hurt. Rocky Sin was cramping. There was a couple other guys that were cramping, came back in, but Whiteside and D. Winters were the 2 that stood out the most to me from those 2 teams.
What about you, Matt?
So for me, I'm kind of going in a different direction, and I want to say it's the Bears. Look what they've been able to do the last 2 weeks. Their win against the Commanders last week, and then they had a great game against the Saints. And yeah, I know the Saints aren't really anything to write home about, but look at what this defense is able to do. They're keeping the offense in the game. I don't really think I think other than the Lions this year, maybe they got blown out, but they really haven't, compared to last season to now, look what the Bears defense is doing. They're playing well as a unit, and they look very well coached. They look very well disciplined. It's like night and day between last season and now. And they look confident as well. Everyone looks comfortable. Everyone looks like they know each other's assignments. And I think the Bears defense is very underestimated, very underrated. And I'm very excited to see how they do as the season continues, because they've been able to go toe to toe with some of these top offenses. Even if they didn't win, they've hung in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you want. You want a defense that puts in the fight, keeps your offense in the game, and allows your offense to have the opportunities to win. So for me, I'm going with the Bears defense on this one.
Yeah, I'm glad you called them out. Them and the Browns were in my consideration, but I kind of dropped them because they were playing, Spencer Rattler, who's actually done decent this year.
Mm-hmm.
Better than I think we thought. And then the Browns were playing the Dolphins, which it's already bad enough for the Dolphins. I didn't want to pour it on, but the Bears and Browns did have standout defensive games this week. So I'm glad you pointed one of those out, because, when you think of the Bears, you're thinking Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams. Their defense has been balling out. So that's a really good shout out.
Mm-hmm.
I've got two honorable mentions before we move on to Cory's Crossfire. One would be the Seahawks last night against the Texans. And I know that the Texans had 19 points, but I don't think that really tells a story about how tenacious Seattle's defense really was. I mean, I watched that game thinking, CJ Stroud needs to make a play, and he was just on his ass, because that Seattle team just would rock him almost every play. Now, granted, he doesn't have a great offensive line, but Seattle just getting in the backfield, breaking up passes, they could never get anything done offensively. Seattle for sure is one of those defenses that is a force to be reckoned with. And not only do they have a pretty good offense, but that defense travels. And so I would say Seahawks would be an honorable mention, and the other one would have been the Patriots defense on Tennessee. Now, granted, Tennessee's a beat up team, but I think what, you kind of pointed this out earlier, Cory, about Mike Vrabel's defense with the Patriots. They're flying all over, and they made it very tough for Cam Ward and that offense, even though they looked a little bit better following their coach's departure. The Patriots just settled in, and that defense really put it on him and really made Cam Ward uncomfortable. And honestly, that defense has helped win them games in situational football. And that's a lot of it is to credit to Mike Vrabel. So I would say those are probably my two honorable mentions for other defenses.
And I'm going to say the Titans I think I've seen the candidates for the Titans job, and I'm laughing my ass off, because I'm if I'm a Titans fan, I'm absolutely not on any of those guys. But I think for the first couple possessions of that game, you saw what was possible with Cam Ward and those offensive players. But again, Mike Vrabel and his defense obviously came away from that. But if I'm a Titans fan, I'm kind of okay, it's there, right? I know I've been seeing everyone saying they went from Will Levis to another Will Levis, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think Cam Ward in the right situation would be just fine. But to go off the Vrabel defense, what can they not do, right? They're taking on the personality of their coach. They're flying around, and they're playing complimentary football. So again, it's off to the fighting Vrabels.
Yeah, I love you bringing up Seahawks defense. I may have been a little ahead of my time, but before last year, so when they hired him, he was my pick to be the best hire. I liked kind of the tree he came from. He's always had great defenses, and it just picked go off of what you said. He's actually had CJ Stroud's entire career for college and NFL. Stroud's now 0-7 against Mike McDonald defenses, which is incredible. But yeah, I like McDonald. NFL's weird this year to where I think Seattle can actually be an NFC championship / Super Bowl contender, just given how wild the NFL's been.
Yeah.
So I love all the honorable mentions and shout outs this week, because there's a lot of good football starting to be played. I know we started out with the Raiders. Sorry. But, there has been a lot of good football being played, and there's probably even more we can mention, right? Vikings defense kept them in that game, even though Carson Wentz looked like he forgot how to play quarterback on 35 of his 47 attempts. So,
right.
Denver's defense stepped up for 10 to 15 minutes of football time when they needed them to, ish. So there was plays that were made defensively, and we're starting to see some good football.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm actually trying to look at the Seahawks schedule to see how many other NFC matchups that they play. They do have a matchup with obviously the Rams within division coming up in a couple of weeks. So they both have good defenses. So I'm seeing how that would play out. And I'm not sure if they're going to play either the Lions or the Bucs. I think those two in the NFC would be very interesting. Did they already play the Bucs? Oh, they lost, right? I forgot.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah, Seahawks kind of have the Vikings week 13. I think week 11 they had another NFC team. But I mean, to your credit, Austin, I think Seahawks might actually make some noise. They're good on both sides of the ball, and they're well coached, and they have the better offensive coordinator now than they did last year, better quarterback. So yeah, I mean, they could be one of those sleeper teams that goes pretty far.
Yeah, they have a rough stretch where they play like the Vikings, Colts, Rams, Niners.
Right.
Like, they got a stretch and that's towards the end, so that they have a little stretch there that could get rough. But I like what they're doing so far.
And their defense won them. I'm going to say it now. Like, their defense won them that game yesterday because
100%.
The Texans defense won the turnover battle. They had 4 turnovers to Seattle's 1, and Houston marched down the field a couple of times, got on the goal line 3 times, and 3 times they stopped them. Right. So that game was won by Seattle's defense.
And not only the defense itself, but specifically the secondary. The secondary shut down the pass catchers of the Texans. Now, the pass rush helped out a lot, of course, because CJ Stroud didn't have plans. But even when he put the ball in the air, those DBs did not let anything come into the receiver's hands. They absolutely controlled that game from start to finish on a defensive side of it. Now, granted, some turnovers, of course, played in the factor, but Seattle's pass defense was one of the best I've seen the entire week, considering, I think we all thought that the Texans coming into this season before it started would have a pretty good offense considering all the weapons that they have, and Seattle absolutely shut them down. So, all right. Are we good on that segment?
We are good.
We are. Although I could talk defenses all day.
I know we're getting long-winded on that one, but instead of defenses, we're going to be talking Cory's Crossfire, where he pulls receipts. Cory, who's in your Crossfire this week?
We were very, very, very close to this being a Sean Payton Crossfire. Very close. And I still could easily make this about Sean Payton, but I'm not. I'm going to go back to that shithole in Miami. Talk about the owner. So literally, immediately following that massive ass beating that they just took by the Browns. The Browns.
Yes.
That's Cleveland, for those of you that don't know. Immediately following that, the owner came out with a statement saying we're behind Mike McDaniel and everyone. We have full belief in this. Stop lying. Like, what are you doing to your fans? Like, if I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm so pissed off right now. I'm seeing a lack of leadership from the coaching staff, the players, and now our owner's going to come out and do this. It's like a revolving door for Miami, and that's continuously why they are ass. And if it wasn't for the Jets being in their same division, then, it'd be a different story. But the fact the Jets are in their division, that's a whole nother story in itself. But you own a team, you have a responsibility to your fans who spend money, they buy your product, they come and watch your games. You have a responsibility as an owner to make the change. And I see a coach week after week this season that looks defeated. He looks down. I see quarterbacks trying to throw his teammates under the bus, not take accountability, and then come out after he gets called out and says, "Hey, my bad. I didn't see, it's to a stop. Stop. Like, you're the quarterback. It's your team. Don't call yourself a leader if you're going to be the one throwing your teammates under the bus when it's in fact you who needs to be held accountable." But now that I see the owner making comments like this and seeing what the owner continuously does, I see where the team's getting their lack of accountability. It starts at the top. If you've watched the show, back to even when we were doing our own show, ownership, GM, head coach, quarterback, in that order. Now you're starting to see lack of accountability from head coach. I haven't even heard much from the GM. We've obviously seen the lack of accountability from Mike McDaniel. But at the same time, I don't know what else he needs to do, right? He looks defeated already. I get it. Everyone's like, well, it's not always going to be beneficial to fire a coach midseason. Okay, cool. But you're not setting the right message for your team or your fans. So if I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm absolutely embarrassed. I see an owner lack accountability. I see a head coach who's defeated. I see a quarterback who lacks accountability. I wouldn't want to be a fan of that team whatsoever, and I'd want to get as far away from that team as I can.
I know previous weeks we had mentioned that the Dolphins were rock bottom, but I think getting clapped by the Browns is actually below rock bottom. Like every time we think it can't get worse, it gets worse. Like you lost like what was it, like 27 points or something to the Browns. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a week where Dolphins don't deserve to be in the Crossfire. I liked Sean Payton as a Crossfire. You guys are going to like this stat. He threw 11 screen passes this last week.
Tua did?
Sean Payton threw 11 screens this last week.
Oh,
That's where I thought he was going with that. That's why I was like, dang. But yeah, with the Dolphins, get rid of Tua, get rid of the coach. Like, you have to start over. Mid-season or not, like, it's bad. You have to try to salvage what little is left there somehow, and you're not going to do it by continuously doing what you're doing every week. So, yeah, I like this Crossfire. I think it's well-deserved. I think I'm not a Dolphins person, but I think a football fan in general deserves better, honestly. Like, the fans spend the money, put in the time. Like, the fans deserve better than whatever the hell is happening in Miami.
And I'll say this real quick. We talked earlier about the Raiders selling off their assets to try to rebuild. I don't know if I trust either organizations at this point, the Raiders or the Dolphins, to not only sell what they have to gain those assets, but to do right by those assets.
right.
Like what has either organization shown you over the last 2 or 3 years? Yeah, you can say they drafted Genty. They probably should have went elsewhere with that pick.
Yeah.
Right. Like I know the Raider fans love the Genty pick, but you had bigger needs, and there were a lot more available at that point in time. Right. Dolphins could have easily went Justin Herbert, and where'd they go? They went Tua. So at what point the last few years has either team showed you that, yes, we can trade off these assets, get a buttload of draft capital back in place, clear some cap space? What are they going to do with it? That's going to make fans go, hell yeah.
And you can even look at the Raiders. Yes, the Bowers pick was really good, but that was the second straight year they took a first-round tight end. Nothing against either of those guys, but that's not a really good draft strategy for back-to-back years.
Right.
Yes, Bowers has turned out nice, and Michael Mayer is really good, but 2 years in a row you put a first-round pick on a tight end. So, yeah, I don't usually try to like agree with my brother or help prove his point, but like kind of spot on, like so far. Anyway,
I don't mess around. If I'm going to call it the Crossfire, I'm going to come at it.
Bring it. Yeah. All right, Matt. What's your thoughts?
It's valid. No, and I agree. I the fact that Mike McDaniel still has a job is mind blowing, and they're supporting them and like, yeah, we have his back, but like, come on now. And I brought it up. I want to say I brought it up last week. This all starts and ends with Mike McDaniel because it's very clear the team doesn't respect him. And I want to say it started when they brought Tyreek Hill in. And I say that not because Tyreek Hill isn't a talented player, but because he's very involved with his extracurricular activities outside of the field, outside of the locker room, and he brings it into the locker room with him. Everyone already knows I hate distractions in the locker room. I need you focused for the game. I'm sorry what's going on in your home life. Like, let's talk about it later. But right now, like, I need you focused. And Tyreek Hill brings in all his drama, and Mike McDaniels welcomed it in with open arms. Now you have Tua with, pointing the finger at everyone else but him. Like, bro, you need a talking Tua because you're not playing ass. Like, this team, you are the leader of this team. I'm counting on you to, make the plays, inspire your team, like put the team on your back when things get tough. And carry the team, and he's not doing that. Instead, he's pointing the finger at everyone else. He's pointing the finger at the coach. Like, it also starts with you, man. It's not just Mike McDaniel. It's you too. You need to figure your shit out, especially because you're a quarterback. Like, you are the leader of the team. You have a C on your chest for a reason. Act like it. So this whole organization is a mess. And instead of taking the Browns to the Super Bowl, you're taking to the Dolphins to the Super Bowl. Like, might as well put them in a can and label it Star-Kissed Tuna because that's what this is. It's frustrating because the Dolphins have so much, with Waddle and Tua had potential. He was mentored by Ryan Fitzpatrick, who has a lot of experience. He played in a lot of different offenses, and you were mentored by him. Mike McDaniels comes from the Shanahan tree. Like, you have all this talent and knowledge at your fingertips. and everything's just in disarray. So this whole organization's a mess from the top to the locker room to even the fan base. I'm going to say it them too, just because why not? But it's just a joke. I mean, you're the scourge of the AFC East at this point.
America's booty call.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pretty
The Raiders are running a pretty close second on that one, I'll have to say.
Like I kept texting you, anytime you think the Raiders are bad, man, just watch the Jets, Dolphins, or Titans. And it should feel a little bit better.
Yeah, but at least they look like they had a quarterback and some pieces. And now it's like, okay, first off, I'm not going to compare the two because I've kind of beaten the dead horse on this one. Like, I thought the Raiders had some good surrounding pieces. You just needed the right leader to make it happen. So the fact that we thought we had the right leader not making it happen is what's frustrating. But the Dolphins situation, that experiment has run its course. Back-to-back years of going 10-7, being eliminated in the wild card. You know, again, Matt, you point out Tyreek Hill and his off the field distractions. That's kind of bringing it into the locker room. I know that Tyreek Hill had it past coming into the league that, you know, that Andy Reid was really good about kind of shielding that from the media and also keeping it away as a distraction in the locker room, to where Tyreek Hill probably achieved a good amount of potential as being a team player because Andy Reid was able to either hold him accountable, set him up for success. And then, you know, when Tyreek got sent over to Miami, which was probably a little bit more all about the vibes and more loosey-goosey, not so much accountability, because, you know, it's Mike McDaniels is a younger head coach, so maybe he's not as much of a hard ass as something like Andy Reid or Bill Belichick even will use as an example, to where, you know, he's going to let things slide. He gives a player an inch and they take a mile and he doesn't hold them accountable. So now the team says, well, I can't trust you with accountability because when you have every opportunity to hold this guy accountable, you don't. And so then teams won't play for that style of coach because maybe it works at other places, but these players that he has on his team, they don't like it. And clearly on the field, they're letting him know, we're not centered. We're not aligned with anything. So very much like what Cory said, what Matt said, what Austin has said, they need a complete reset. I don't think Tua is done playing quarterback in the NFL, but I think he's done playing quarterback for the Dolphins. I think he needs a fresh start somewhere else, different teammates to kind of win some camaraderie, let that build up to where he has to kind of ingratiate himself back into certain teams. For the Dolphins, you need to let go of any valuable asset you have, and we'll have to just let whatever GM that we rehire, because the current GM is not going to stick around. When Mike McDaniels goes, this guy is gone too. So whoever you then bring in following that, you're going to have to just trust that you arm them with enough draft picks to put things together. And then you're going to look at teams like, you know, the Patriots, who basically started from start, had a couple of draft picks that they brought in the right guy, and now they look solid. I'm not even saying that the Browns are a bad team, but like defense, like they were pretty legit. But as much of a high-powered offense as Miami had throughout the years, having Tua throw like 400 yards in consecutive days, putting up 70 on Denver like 3 seasons ago, to where now like you only put up 6 points and Tua throws 3 interceptions and he only completed 12 passes. So that's not great either. But I agree though. This whole team needs a complete restart. Whatever it is, they need an exorcism. They need the Holy Spirit to come upon them, wash them with the holy water, or, you know, the blood of Christ, whatever. But they need something to get that bad juju out of there. And probably that starts with Tua and Mike McDaniel. I don't see Tyreek being on this team after this season. I know he's injured, but he's probably going to get let go after this season because he's got to rehab for another year. Jalen Waddle, I'll be surprised if he's still on the team because that's an asset you can give away. So this whole Miami Dolphins team, I feel bad for the fans. And if you guys remember previously, we had Des on, Dummy for Broncos. Her co-host Drew is a Dolphins fan. I'm sure he's feeling it right now. So for you Dolphins fans, we feel sorry for you. But as a Raiders fan, I empathize with you. So
in a perfect world, too, as the next Raiders quarterback.
God, I hope not.
With Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
Hurricane Josh 2.0, baby.
God, I hope not. That would be terrible. Like, I actually was thinking that the quarterback that I see going to the Dolphins, ironically, would be like Geno. Like, I can see the Raiders like offloading Geno to the Dolphins for like draft capital, because in theory, Geno would be cheaper than Tua. Expiring contract, you know, you can have a bridge quarterback or whatever. He needs a fresh start. Let him go to Miami. That way the Raiders get out from that contract, because it's not super expensive, but it's the only way to like make it all work by sending him to a team that probably just needs a bridge quarterback until they go looking for one. Even though they did have, I think they drafted Quinn Ewers, so I don't know how good he's going to be in the future. I mean, he looked better than Tua. So
yeah, he didn't look good.
He looks so bad.
Yeah.
According to the stats, again, I didn't see anything. He had better statistics than Tua, but that's not saying a lot, though. So
it's the same thing when I text you, "Hey, Kenny Pickett's 2 for 2." Yeah, it's because I didn't see the
fumble.
I already saw Dolphins fans were pissed that they were giving Quinn Ewers a shot over Zach Wilson.
Oh, I forgot. The mom slayer Zach Wilson's on that team. I forgot.
Let's be honest. Dolphins' next quarterback is Joe Flacco, just because he pops up everywhere.
Dear God.
Joe Flacco's
in the crypt.
Joe Flacco is like that mole you can't get rid of.
He's just
Joe
not going
Flaxseed
away.
oil.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're ready for the grand finale Seggy, the
Speaking
MILF
of Zach
Report.
Wilson,
His favorite Seggy, the MILF Report. All right, Matt, take it away.
Well, it's not Zach Wilson, even though I hear he's in the MILFs, but it's actually going to be mine and Corey's favorite team. It's going to be the Broncos and the Cowboys, but it's going to be Riley Moss and Pat Surtain for CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. I think that's I'm worried about it, not so much for Pat Surtain, but for Riley Moss's sake. Now, I think he's done well over the last few weeks, ever since that Chargers game. I think he's done well, but this is just going to be, I don't know. I'm nervous about it just because it's still at the end of the day, Riley Moss. But I do think he has an edge in this matchup with George Pickens, right? Yeah, Pickens. I'm sorry. I'm kind of losing my mind. But because Pickens hates when corners play physical, like you always see him putting his hands up, looking for a flag. If someone gets handsy with him, first thing he does, he's looking for a ref. He's looking for a flag, and he hates it. And Riley Moss is all about that physicality. So I think he has the edge because he can get inside his head, jam him at the line, and be physical with them. I'm just hoping it's not to the point where he's getting flags thrown on him, because sometimes he does get a little too handsy. And you see him get that little jersey grab or get his hand inside the collar. But, Pat Surtain, CeeDee Lamb, that's always a fun matchup to watch. I think the last time they went at it was both their rookie years, and CeeDee Lamb lost that battle. So now both of them have developed into the players they are now. So it's going to be kind of cool to see how they square up with each other. And I think that, they're going to, He'll get some matchups with Pickens as well, and Moss will get his matchups with Lamb. They'll probably get moved around, but it's going to be a fun battle to watch between two corners that are just, gritty, relentless, fast, and two receivers that just can hurt you, whether it's, in the short game or down the field. It's going to be a fun battle to watch. So that's my matchup to watch for.
There's a lot of matchups in this game to watch, though, too. Like, Javonte Williams revenge game. Cowboys offensive line isn't the greatest. So, how do they hold up for Dak? They've obviously been, feels weird to say, the best offense in football.
Statistically, yeah.
Yeah, they are the number one offense.
Yeah, it feels weird to say, but they've been cooking. So there's a lot of really good matchups in that game. Now, obviously, the corners versus those receivers, that probably is what's going to make or break the game. But that Denver's front against, the offensive line and Javonte Williams revenge game, NFC East is pretty tough this year, apparently.
Yeah.
Giants are at least competitive for 3.5 quarters, but I love Surtain and Moss versus Lamb and Pickens. I don't even know who I'd give the edge to on paper. I don't know. That is going to be a matchup to watch. That's when you get your popcorn out for.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a matchup of defenses. If you guys remember, and I think you guys do, that Dallas Cowboys matchup with the Denver Broncos back in 2013 with Peyton Manning, and it was 51-48, I think it was. And that's going to be that kind of game, in my opinion, where it's going to be just shot for shot. I would be surprised. I mean, you may see a couple of defensive stands, but I don't see a lot of interceptions. I don't see a lot of, negative yardage on run plays. I can see like both teams having pretty good offensive outputs, and Sean Payton, of course, checking it down about 45 times. So
yeah,
Don't forget the screens.
Yeah, it's not the receivers that scare me as much as Jake Ferguson. Dre Greenlaw suspended for a game and we'll get into that later. But
yeah,
if we had Greenlaw, I think I'd have felt a little bit better about that matchup with Ferguson. The fact that we don't have Dre Greenlaw, it scares me a little bit. I'm not going to dive too much into the preview because we'll do that tomorrow, but I don't think Denver's offense is going to be able to match what the Cowboys' offense is going to probably be able to do, and it scares the shit out of me. And I could be completely wrong, and I'll dive in and analyze it a little bit more getting ready for tomorrow, but I'm not as concerned with what CD and George can do as much as I am Ferguson, because he's the leading tight end right now in the NFL. He's on a heater. And he seems to be, outside of those two guys, he seems to be Dak's kind of go-to guy in the red zone. And I get you have the long passes to George, and he still makes some of the better contested deep catches I've seen in the NFL. It's wild to me. So yeah, I see where you're coming from on that, and I'm excited to break that down a little more tomorrow.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a fun game. And if you're a fantasy football fan, you're definitely going to want to almost plug any player in there. I mean, I love in our group chat. So behind the scenes, when you guys were talking about the matchup, this is before we kind of formed the show. And I think Matt said, Cory, it's going to be Riley Moss versus George Pickens. And Cory's like, oh, that's a felony on Moss right there. That's going to be wild. And that's exactly what sums it up. Like, it's going to be a hard-nosed match. I'm very curious to see if Surtain matches up with CD all game, or if they're just going to have halves of the field, because CD and George, they can influence, in motion and stuff. What does that look like for the coverage? But, with your guys' pass rush with Benito and Cooper and Allen, like, can they get home to Dak to where he doesn't have time to throw? But I'm really curious. We'll dive into that more tomorrow in our preview show, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys. So that was our seggies for the AFC West. We're going to dive into League Recon now. I don't have a graphic for this one. I'll have to make one later. So just imagine words across the screen and flashes and woo. Okay, League Recon, guys. So we talked a little bit about, the Bucs and the Lions. Last week, I believe it was, buying or selling Baker Mayfield MVP. And Austin was a big proponent of it. I think we all kind of agreed that Baker was right there. Baker didn't have that great of a showing on Sunday Night Football against the Lions, which Austin gave the Lions his aerial attack kind of reward for the week. So we'll start with Cory. What were your thoughts from the Lions and this Bucs game, and how the Lions basically controlled the game?
Yeah, it's weird to me that the Lions look complete opposite of how they looked against Kansas City, but they were able to. If you have Jahmyr Gibbs is my favorite running back. I could watch that guy all day, every day. He's a little bit of everything. But when he gets in the open field, good luck. Mm-hmm. I think he broke off that 74-yarder, and he just absolutely made the Tampa Bay defense look slow. And I don't even think he was even going full speed. He was just coasting. But I think
22-mile-an-hour coast.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'll never get up to that. I probably barely get up to like 4 miles an hour. But when you think about big picture here, and if I'm a Lions fan, I'm super excited just for the simple fact of our secondary is completely destroyed right now. But we had guys step up, and just show out. So I'm excited if I'm a Lions fan. Now, on the flip side, with the Bucs, you lose Mike Evans, which is absolutely brutal. Concussion, broken collarbone. So he's likely out for probably the rest of the season, which is unfortunate because, again, we're Mike Evans' household here. We love Mike Evans. Wish him nothing but the best. They need Bucky Irving back as well. I think they're missing that aspect of their run game. And it's not that Rachaad White's terrible. He's more of your receiving back. Like, he's not – he gets some runs, but Bucky Irving brings another aspect to it. And I think everything that you've seen from Baker Mayfield throughout this season so far, the Lions absolutely crushed it. I think it was in the fourth quarter last night. I don't know why the Bucs went away from chipping Aiden Hutchinson, but that dude was just absolutely bull rushing the right tackle. And there was a couple of times where Baker wanted to step up, but he couldn't because the right tackle was literally right there in his chest. And it was all because Aiden Hutchinson. They show the slow-mo replay, and he's just bull rushing this dude, and this dude doesn't know what to do, right? So, yeah, if I'm a Lions fan, I'm super excited with where the defense is at and where they're going because they're going to be getting healthier. Terry Arnold's going to be coming back soon. Brian Branch will come back from his suspension. Don't bitch slap somebody. Hopefully lesson learned here. And then Jared Goff's obviously one of my MVP candidates. Obviously, the front runner right now has got to be Patrick. But I don't look at this as, oh, God, Baker's done. I just think it was just wrong place, wrong time because the Lions were just kind of playing with house money last night. And if Aiden Hutchinson's doing that, look out.
Yeah. Austin, your thoughts?
Yeah, that had to be one of the worst Baker Mayfield games of his Buccaneers tenure. Lions defense gets a lot of credit, but there were throws that, and I mean a decent amount of throws that Baker just missed.
They're so high.
Yeah, he was throwing everything. I think even at one point, why is he leaving everything high? So I don't know. Something was just off a little bit. It was a bad game for Baker. I do think Baker and that offense, they'll be okay. MVP stock obviously took a hit, but again, we're not even halfway through. So stocks and lists are going to change 3,000 more times before we get to it. But I think brother was right. Cory was right that it was just one of those perfect storms, right? It's nothing to freak out on if you're the Bucs. If you're the Lions, you take away the positives and feel good. With the Bucs, you hope you just get healthy, right? I know a lot of teams are saying that. Baker can only carry you so much, and he does a decent amount. But even the greatest – even Patrick needs his receivers healthy and the offensive line healthy to be able to be Patrick. So, yeah, it was just a good game plan by the Lions. It was good execution by the Lions. Baker missed a lot of throws, but I'd be surprised if, Bucs and Baker don't bounce back and be just fine. But Cody, I think it was one of your saying the Lions defense definitely put belt to ass when it came to Baker last night. And there's really no other way to put it. They got in his head. He was missing throws. They were bothering him all night. It just it was one of those.
And I know my brother will like that comment from Jason. Indiana Jones and Jonathan Taylor for MVP. That's two things my brother – one, we obviously know my brother's man crush on Daniel Jones, but then my brother's always been a proponent of give the damn running backs an MVP.
Right. Yeah. Well, give someone besides even quarterback, right? Like we talked a week or two ago that if Nick Bonito gets up to the 20, 22, 23 sack range, like give him an MVP. Like it doesn't just have to be who was the best quarterback that season, which is what it turned into. So
right.
I love, not just Daniel Jones, but nobody's really talking about what the hell Jonathan Taylor's doing.
He's having a phenomenal season.
Let's be honest. That's probably what's helping Daniel Jones out the most.
Yeah. Well,
honestly,
we can make the argument for Jamar Gibbs being an MVP too, because I mean, if that run game isn't hitting home runs like he's doing, that offense doesn't look the same. Like you don't worry about Jared Goff then throwing it everywhere because you don't have a running threat. And Jamar Gibbs back-to-back weeks, I think, has had 60+ breakaway runs for touchdowns, and he's just lightning in a bottle. So, I mean, to your credit, like, yeah, there's evidence for running backs to be MVPs, receivers even, more than quarterbacks, I think.
And we know the last couple seasons that Jonathan Taylor's been banged up, but now you're seeing a healthy Jonathan Taylor. And obviously we know what Jonathan Taylor was before all the injury, kind of the back-to-back season. And he looked pretty good last year, but he was still beat up. Now you're seeing a healthy Jonathan Taylor and what he's able to do. And prior to all of that, he was still a top 2, top 3 running back each season. And I love Jonathan Taylor. I know my fantasy football team does too.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to say about the Lions is, as a Chiefs fan, when I watch Jahmyr Gibbs, he honestly looks like Jamal Charles 2.0. That's what he reminds me of. Because Jamal Charles was known for electricity and speed, but he also had a little bit of pop. Jahmyr Gibbs lowers his shoulder and gets some tough yards sometimes. So honestly, that when I was watching specifically last night and I saw that breakaway and how easy he made it look, it really just it looked like a Jamal Charles 2.0 to me. Like because
Yeah.
Jamal made it look effortless too.
And Jason here saying that Run MC carrying the Niners, which is completely
Christian
true. And
McCaffrey, he is the 49ers. Like
Yeah.
they have no
Yeah.
Pretty
it's
much,
literally
yeah.
San Francisco Christian McCaffrey's right now.
we should do top 5 running backs tomorrow for,
But we should do like a MVP list.
yeah, there you
Not
go. Top 5
excluding
MVPs.
quarterbacks.
Well,
There we go.
We got an announcement to make towards the end of the show, so make sure you guys stick around for that, and then we can throw that top 5 into that big announcement.
Yeah, let's remember that of doing an MVP list excluding quarterbacks. Let's give
There
the
we
other love.
All right, continuing our league recon. Jason, cover your ears. So the Giants' epic collapse to the Broncos, allowing the Broncos to score 33 consecutive points in the fourth quarter to break away with the win. Oh, yes.
Is there a word that's more than epic collapse? Because it was more than that.
Depressing,
Like,
What's depressing?
deflating,
Deflate gate.
deflate.
like that was embarrassing. Like the Patriots came down 28-3, like over second half. The Broncos scored 100% of their points in the final 20 seconds of a game. Like that was more than Reggie Miller doing that to Knicks fans. Sorry, New York.
Yeah, so Jason catching strays from being from NY.
Yeah.
This is mixed too.
Love you, Jason.
Yeah.
we love you, but at the same time, man, like I'm
It's New York, but I'm sorry.
so sorry.
I will say, just to have some positives, I know the game itself, the Giants have some pieces. That game was more competitive than I thought, especially with all the hoopla going into it. Giants had pieces. That was a good outing for them up until the whatever word you use, collapse. 33. I can't wrap my head around 33 points in a quarter. That shouldn't even be mathematically or scientifically possible. And I still haven't wrapped my head around how a team scores 33 in a quarter. How? After getting shut out. I don't know. I don't get it. Sorry, Jason. I'm not trying to rain on the Giants, but what the hell?
I have a bold take about the Giants. They are a playoff team with a bad head coach. Had they had a better leader, because here's what's going on. They have close games with the Commanders. This is week 1, so this is without Jackson Dart starting. They lose 21-6, I think it was. Cowboys, they put up almost 40 on the Cowboys and lost by 1 score. Chiefs obviously beat them. This is before they started Jackson Dart. When Jackson Dart gets in, they beat the Chargers. They collapsed against the Saints. I don't have an answer for that. They doubled up on the Eagles, and honestly, had their defense stopped Bo Nix and the Broncos just one possession, they would have won that game. So I think that the Giants now with Jackson Dart, Scattaboo, if they were healthy with Malik Neighbors, I feel like this team would be a lot more dangerous. I feel like it's the head coach that is blowing late leads, making decisions. I feel like if the Giants had a comparable head coach, they would be a playoff team today with Jackson Dart as the rookie, because their defense is ferocious. It gets after you. And honestly, with Jackson Dart being a rookie, how he plays in this offense, it's very easy. And even though you have teams like the Broncos that for some reason could not really stop Jackson Dart. They got home to him, they sacked him, but he was still able to carve up the secondary because he was able to move around. He was able to move the pocket. He was mobile. And I feel like this Giants team is a leadership or a head coach away from taking it to the next level. And I feel like they're right there. So that would be my bold take for this Giants team.
So before I get into kind of my thoughts, not all you Giant fans are terrible. I had some good interactions with some Giant fans on Twitter and IG. But there are some of you Giant fans out there that need Jesus.
Yeah.
I saw some very disrespectful comments about my boy DT that I'm not gonna. We can't have that.
No.
I'm all for fun banter, friendly banter, doing what you got to do. But once you start making fun of Demaryius Thomas and you start saying certain things that it's a family show, so I'm not going to get into it. But check yourself. Okay.
There was a line and it was crossed.
Second off, Cody,
Absolutely.
you stole it from me. Brian Daboll's a terrible head coach. When you get that ball back, you don't have Jackson Dart throw the football. You know, Denver knows that you're going to try to show off a little bit because we've, as Bronco fans, have seen this. Sean Payton's done the exact same thing, right? Run the football, man. Cam Scatterboo, you keep the clock running. Now you put your quarterback in a very, very tough situation where he gets pressured, then he throws that interception. Now we get the ball back in the red zone, and boom, it's another touchdown, another 2-point conversion. Whereas if you run the football, make them burn another timeout, we get the ball back with a timeout. So you put your quarterback in a terrible situation. So, Cody, you absolutely crushed it. If they can get the head coaching pick right, those pieces are there. You get Malik Neighbors back next year. That defense isn't going anywhere. They have 3 defensive ends playing on the line with Sexy Dexy. They're set. I think they still need some secondary pieces. I know I was interacting with some of the Giants fans who were talking about, I think Banks or somebody who came in the fourth quarter due to an injury to one of their starter or one of the players. And once he came in, Denver started targeting that immediately, and it started working. So they have some secondary pieces they need to work out. That's all fun and games, and that's fine. Because I think you do have an owner who I think he's starting to understand that the pieces are there. I think he understands that the coaching needs to switch and change. Because I do think – I know Sean Payton kind of took a shot at Russell Wilson, which was kind of funny. Russell kind of came back at Sean. That was kind of funny to do. But I'm a Giants fan. I'm excited, but I'm also frustrated because that's a game that you should have 100% won because you had a 99.8% chance of winning at one point in this game, and you lost. On the flip side, Sean Payton, we watch other teams that are very successful with the screen game because they're not running it every other play. Sean Payton's becoming too predictable. Matt and I know when they're coming. Everyone knows when they're coming because it's like, oh, hey, what's the down and distance? Oh, it's a screenplay. It's going to be a swing pass. You're becoming too predictable, and I know he shuts down the tempo question every time someone in the media asks him about the tempo. He's like, I'm not going to talk about the tempo. Bro, your quarterback runs so good when you're in tempo because you're not trying to do line changes every single time, and it's deflating. It kills an offense. I know you want to do personnel changes as often as you do. It's okay that your quarterback's good and up tempo. I get it. You want to continuously run Bo out to the right on the boot, on the nakeds. It's too predictable, man. And if we can see it, then we know guys that get paid to do this for a job see it. Please change your offense up. Use the tempo a little more. Get Bo in a rhythm. And for the love of God, use J.K. Dobbins more. That's all I want. That's all I want. It's plain and simple. You have it in front of you. Please don't be in my crossfire next week.
Yeah, and my blood pressure was up because of all the screenplays that I was seeing. Like, anytime the slot was coming into motion, I'm like, yep, here we go. It's a screenplay. And lo and behold, here we are. It's a screen. It's like me, the couch coach. If I can see this, if I know it's coming and I don't get paid to read offenses and defenses, if I see this is coming, Professor Dickweed on the sidelines can see it too. So, like, change up your game just a little bit, man. Like, you don't have to take screens out of your playbook, but if it's on every single drive and every single second down of that drive, come on, man. Like, get it together. Get it together. This game is not how I envisioned it going, because like I talked about a little bit last week, the Giants were the fourth best at kick returns, and the Broncos were second worst at kick return coverage. And given how they played the Jets, I was like, that's what I'm worried about because the Giants are going to get in that good field position because of special teams, and they're going to, take advantage of those short yard situations and capitalize off of it. Instead, it was just for the first 3 quarters, whatever the Giants offense wanted to do, they did. Whatever the Giants defense wanted to do, they did. Bo Nix missed throws. He looked frustrated. He looked flustered. He was rushing through his reads, and it just, dropping key passes. I think Nate Atkins, it was a 3rd and 2, and all he had to do was just it hit him right in the hands, and all he had to do was catch it and turn up field, get 5 extra yards, and he drops it. Things like that. Like, again, against the Giants, cool. Against these other teams that we have coming up, that's not going to fly. And not only that, we look like the most undisciplined team in the league. Yes, I will give the PI on Riley Moss. That was completely bullshit. But 12 accepted penalties for 127 yards. You're not like the fact that you won this game and you got 33 points in the fourth quarter with that stat, to your name, like you lucked out. Eventually your luck is going to run out. I need to see discipline. I need to see a screenplay like once, maybe every quarter, but not every drive. I need to see the defense actually play consistent and not panic when things aren't going well. I need them to play 4 good quarters of football and not just make me crash out like Cody here. So
I need someone else to start doing it. It's starting to wear me down. All right.
One Cody is too much. I can't be two.
I don't know if we could have did a crash out video the other night. I'd have been so pissed that I don't know if a crash out video would have done it. And one thing I'll say before we get to my brother here, I know everyone keeps saying the swing passes are an extension of the run game. We don't need help with the run game. J.K. Dobbins is just fine. Run the football, set up the bootlegs that way. And then when you need it, when they're not expecting it, then you can get to your screen games. Look at the Chiefs. Andy and Sean used to be really good at the screen game. And now you still see the Chiefs who only use it every so often. But it's wild to me. The extension of the run game, we don't need the extension of the run game when J.K. Dobbins is doing just fine.
14 carries for 80 yards. I expected more carries.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Now, do we think this collapse by the Giants, do we think this starts a little spiral for them? Do you think since they're so young that it kind of carries week to week, or do you think they'll be okay?
I think they're going to be fine.
I think they're too young to know that they're crashing. I think there's still optimism. They played a really good game. I'm not trying to say that they lost it and should lose confidence. If anything, they're one stop away from winning that game, even letting the lead slip. It's not like you're 100% right, but I don't think that that's as demoralizing to say like that. Now they're like not still a good football team with their defensive pieces, with Jackson Dart, how he's been connecting with these receivers, even though he doesn't have his number one guy. Like, I still think the Giants are good. I don't think they're making a wild card. Let's not get that twisted. But do I think that they're probably going to be like a top 15, top 20 pick? Yeah, because I think they'll like maybe a 7-10 record or something. Like, they're going to do pretty well. But I don't think that this crushes them to where now they go on like an 8-game losing streak. I just think it's a terrible loss. It's a good team. Honestly, having it be DT Day and the way that they had that momentum, Bo Nix literally put them on their back to win that game. I don't think that was something that the Giants would have been able to stop. But I don't think that the Giants are going to continue to lose games like that because they still have good wins against good teams. It just happened that the Broncos pulled it out when they should have.
I just think it's, they're going to have more close games. And like you said, they've blown a couple. And then you have one like this that is embarrassing. Are they going to be able to get over that hump in close games? I do think long-term they will be fine. This core is going to come back next year. Hopefully new head coach and everything will be fine. I'm thinking just what if this next game they play, it's close again. And you start having that doubt of blowing, giving up 33 points. Like, they're young. We've already mentioned they don't have a good leader as far as a head coach goes. I don't want to see it spiral out of control, but it is one of those, for a young team, it's one of those defining, not moments, but like games in a career where it's going to stick with them for a while.
It does. And I think they're at that point now where we talk about now you got to learn how to win.
Yep.
Right. So we talk about you got to have players that hate to lose. And I think they're at that point now where they know they can win, but now knowing it and doing it are two different things. And I don't know if they get to 7 wins. I don't know if I'm ready to quite go there yet, just based on their coach and if he's going to continuously put a young quarterback in bad situations like he did against Denver. Because Jackson Dart was playing damn near perfect football up until that point when he threw that interception. And then you can kind of see the collapse. And then that little bit of pressure that the defense started feeling like, oh no, we have to do, like, this is on us now. And then no sooner they get the ball back, Denver gets another stop. So then now it's like one thing after another. So now you got to learn how to win those games instead of, okay, what do we do now? Because now you're looking to your coach, and your coach is kind of like, And then you have Brian Burns, who's pissed off after the game because they're dropping 8. They're dropping 8 in coverage instead of your pressure's been working the whole time against Bo Nix.
Yep.
Right.
Why drop 8? Why play soft like that?
It's the worst defense in that situation. I'll say it every time I see it.
Yeah.
It's the worst. The only time you switch up to do something like that is like that last second Hail Mary. Other than that, you can play a couple yards back so nothing gets by you. But don't just start street defense.
It's like when you call what is it?
Terrible.
All fires on Madden.
No.
When the Raiders did that, they let someone beat them deep because they played too aggressive. There's a middle ground.
Yeah. That's not what I'm.
Don't go.
I just. Right. I just had a thought who the next head coach could potentially be for the Giants. And actually, someone's got to correct me if he was already there or not. I can't remember. But wasn't Steve Spagnuolo with the Giants?
Yeah,
he was the defensive coordinator for their Super Bowl.
I would not be surprised if the next round of head coaches Spags gets a look at, because can you imagine him with that defense?
Yeah,
Spags ain't leaving, dude.
If he does,
you don't think so?
You have to nail your offensive coordinator in that spot.
He would bring in Bieniemy for sure,
and I don't think that would be a very good hire.
It would be exactly what they need, though. It's far from accountability. I'm not saying X's and O's, but you Bieniemy.
Yeah, I just think in terms of leadership, time management, I think Spags makes sense. Play calling, it's not Spags that's going to be calling plays, we know that, but I just think that what he does for defenses and having that talented of a defense, can you imagine what he can do with it? I think is what I think about.
Well, I know Mike Kafka's not the answer at the offensive coordinator spot. He calls shit.
No, for sure.
Yeah, they got to get their coaching down because they got the pieces there. Daboll's not the answer. Their coordinators aren't the answer, but if they don't clean house or make a lot of coaching changes this next season, then we're going to have conversations about what are the Giants doing. But they have the opportunity to have a really good 5 to 10 year run with some of the young talent they have.
Jason and I are on the same page because I was getting ready to say that. Mike McDaniel with the Giants would actually be really good.
As a coordinator?
No, as a coach. I think he would actually have a quarterback there who would be able to run what he would want to run.
He would melt and die so fast in New York media.
Well, that's a good possibility, but
he would break before the season starts.
I mean, if you can look
at Giants, the Raiders have an offensive coordinator we'll give you guys for nothing more than a washing machine.
Well, I mean, you could look at Cliff Kingsbury. You could look at some of those other guys that maybe bring in as a head coach for the Giants. But
man, they should have fired Daboll last year and got Ben Johnson in this house.
Yeah, I don't know if they.
I don't know if they get Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson wanted to stay in the North, regardless.
I think he wanted Caleb Williams. He wanted that quarterback, and they didn't have Jackson Dart last year.
He sniffed out the Raiders and said, "I don't want none of this mess."
Yeah.
They
need to get someone in there who can work with Jackson Dart, though, whether it's the coordinator or head coach.
Do not want him or his capri pants. How funny. All right. I don't think we have anything else, do we, fellas?
Outside of the official, like, when are we gonna start holding referees accountable?
Ironically enough, so I feel like this is up your lane a little bit, Cory. So why don't you give us your thoughts on NFL officiating?
And it wasn't just because of the Broncos game. I mean, you can watch every Sunday that, they make the calls, and then all they do is they go to a pool reporter after the game and they talk to a pool reporter. Very select few that get to do the pool reporting. But I know everyone's seen the video of what Dre Greenlaw and his situation. Now, Dre Greenlaw is 100% in the wrong on doing this, but Brad Allen's also 100% in the wrong for throwing a flag
and pointing
at him at the end of the game. I mean, you called a shit game. Someone posted on X basically this dude's reputation of he botched the Lions Cowboys game a couple years ago with the eligible receiver. He botched that. He bumped into a player and then threw a flag on the player.
Purposely. I remember that one. Yeah.
So this guy already doesn't have a very good track record to begin with. But But if you're going to start if you're going to hold players accountable for what they're doing in the games, as far as the unsportsmanlike, at some point you have to start holding the officiating to the same standards. This could have easily been my crossfire today too, because it's getting kind of annoying when you're sitting there. Now, Denver is absolutely an undisciplined team. Like Sean Payton talks a big game as far as we need to clean it up, and they never do. So he's coaching it. But just sitting there watching a game, no one wants to see 28 accepted penalties, 30 accepted penalties in the game. You're killing the flow. You're making games longer than they need to be. NFLPA and the NFL need to get together, and they got to start getting some of this under control because it's absolutely atrocious. Foot Locker employees, that's exactly what they are at this point. But Brad Allen, for the love of God, have some tough skin, man. Like, holy shit, the game's over. We're running off the field. You're throwing a flag.
And pointing.
And again, Dre Greenlaw is still 100% in the wrong. Don't follow the official. Don't do anything. But still, like, what are we doing? Like, it's annoying. It's the same thing every week. You know, I know everyone pokes fun at the Chiefs, refs this, ref that. But now I'm starting to get on social media and see it throughout the whole game. Ref this. Oh, I thought only the Chiefs got these calls. Or I only thought it's becoming an issue. And it's taking away from what these players are doing on the field, and they're doing really well. So that's kind of my 2 cents. I need the NFL to start holding these guys accountable and not just answering to one pool reporter after a game. Get them in front of reporters and make them actually answer some questions.
Yeah,
that's what I've been saying too. Go ahead, Austin.
2 points on that. The NFL holds players, coaches, organizations, media, everyone accountable. Nothing from the refs. That does need to change. But second of all, I've been saying it for years now that officiating isn't just out there to benefit whatever team your favorite team's playing. Yes, it's been directed at the Chiefs a lot, but the go-to now is the refs were against my team. Been saying it for years. The refs aren't against your team. The refs are just bad across the board in every sport, at every level, for every game. It has nothing to do with conspiracies. It has nothing to do with them being out to get your favorite team. It's just bad. Plain and simple, across the board. And I know people aren't going to admit it because they just want it to fit their narrative of, oh, they just like the Chiefs. Oh, they just hate my team, or this and that. No, officiating, umpiring, refereeing is just bad in every sport at every level for every game. And I'm going to continue saying it until people realize that it's just the truth. There's no consistency. You have so many rules that are judgment rules, and every refereeing crew has different judgments, so you get no consistency. There's just so much that needs to happen, and it's not happening. So I don't think anything will be done from it. I feel like the officials are protected. They're never going to let them do anything, but it's those 2 things. Hold them accountable and just realize that the officials are terrible across the board.
And it's like I said, you know, in our group chat, I had messaged you guys and I said, the NFL protects its refs more than they protect the players.
Yep.
You know, to Austin's point, like, it's not the Chiefs' fault. Your quarterback got sacked 8 times. It's not the Chiefs' fault that Alex Forsythe doesn't know how to line up to protect the kick and let Leo Chanel just come in and block it. It's not the ref's fault. That's on you. However, on the other side of the coin, some of these calls are just egregious.
Yes.
Like, how is that call there? And I think Nick Ferguson, you know, he brought up a good point. How is the NFL able to come down from New York and buzz and say, hey, look at this play, but then here's another bogus play, and they don't do it, like, not even a wink, not even a text, smoke signal, nothing. So it's like they're picking and choosing, like, all right, today this is going to be a penalty, and this is going to be a catch. Tomorrow, that's not going to be a catch. Yeah. And I do think the refs need to start being held accountable. You know, like, get in front of the press and be like, hey, you made this call, and it's clear as day that this was a catch, and you said it wasn't. So what is your ruling? Like, what made you say this wasn't a catch? Because, look, he's got control. He's in bounds. He makes a football move. He ran 3 steps up the field. What is your ruling for this? explain it to me like I'm two. You know, like I tell, like we have a saying in the military, say, break it down for me, Barney style. So again, break it down for me, Barney style. What is the reasoning for this? And yeah, just got to start holding these refs accountable. That's all I got to say on that.
Here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to be a little bit of a devil's advocate to not say that the refs are doing a great job. I'm not trying to say that at all, but I want to bring a point to that the NFL is not only like a global sport that brings in billions of dollars and all this other stuff with ad revenue, with teams and all this other stuff. I do also want to point out, I think the reason why you don't see the NFL hold refs accountable to the way that we want to see it, because they are agents of the NFL. They work for the league itself. And I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but what gets us fans riled up more than talking about our team winning is how games are officiated by humans and an error and, quick, last second, like reaction times and split second decisions. And then obviously with replay, we look back and we see that was a shitty call, but in the moment, like they're just going off of what they're calling. And some refs correct it or, understand, hey, that's on me. Others don't stand 10 toes down deep in their own mess up and don't correct it. Don't, say, hey, that's on me or nothing like that. And I think the NFL loves the fact that that's a part of this game. Like, look at the blown call between the Saints and the Rams, where blatant pass interference wasn't called in a pivotal NFC championship game. Yes, was that a ref's blunder, but also too, like, imagine all the heat that the NFL got from that because of that. And we can agree, like, we can pull up thousands of calls against our team, against other teams that we can point to and say, that's a bad job, that's a bad job, that's a bad job. But you know what it ultimately does? Gets us talking about the NFL, regardless of if your team or another team. And the NFL loves marketing, and the best way to market, just get them talking about anything.
Well, first they say it all the time, the integrity of the game. Some of these bad calls are not for the integrity of the game. I still think you have to worry about the product on the field first and foremost. So even if you don't hold them accountable publicly, you still need them to be better, or at least more consistent. If it's a penalty for one crew, it should be a penalty for every crew. So iron that out. So, like, no matter what it is, the most important thing is still product on the field. So, but you're right. Here we are going on talking about the refs. So, I mean, I get your point, but at the end of the day, the product on the field is what should be tailored to the most.
Right. Unless we want robo refs in the NFL, and I don't even know how I feel about that. I kind of like refs, like, we have to trust them to make a call, or we also can see, like, I don't know, that call really favors this team, or several calls, and we don't like it, but it's either influencing the game or it's pushing the game or whatever the case is. And I don't know if the NFL wants to make it a perfect system, because then you take that element out. Like, oh yes, this team should beat this other team, but maybe a couple of calls that went the team that should have lost way, now they're able to compete, or they're able to come away with a win because some calls that were questionable. So that's why I think the NFL doesn't want to fix it. Now, do they discipline for egregious stuff? We'll never know. But I also don't think that they're looking to make it a perfect system, no matter how much that they say we're going to work to make this better. I don't think they really want to do that. They really love the uncertainty of what this ref is going to call to this crew or to that crew. That's what I think the NFL loves about having multiple different crews, is you never know what game you're going to get called. Just like the NBA, every crew is different, and MLB umps, like, every crew is different. They're not all the same. And I think that's a lot of what these sports leagues is like, you never know what you're going to get. Or some fans think, oh, we got that guy, we're screwed. And I think that's still pushing the game in conversation. And product on the field, I'd agree, but we're also seeing points scored at a level. We're seeing offensive moves, and it's making audiences excited for big plays, and maybe not so much for defense, which is what we grew up watching, is crazy defenses. But a lot of rules that the NFL has been calling now, siding more with offense than defense, that's what it's like pushing away. So that's what I want to give in terms of perspective. Do I think the refs screw it up a lot of the times and influence games that they shouldn't? I do, but I also don't think the NFL is looking to make it a solution either.
I agree.
Agreed.
Wow, that's a first. Cool. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and do the big announcement that we were talking about. Cory, tell the people what we're doing.
Yeah, so this is actually a Matt idea. So Matt had been talking to us after last week's episode about, hey, here's a great idea. Why don't we start doing a pregame show? So starting this weekend, Sunday morning, we are going to have our first ever War Room pregame show. This is going to be every Sunday morning, 8:30 Central Time, so 6:30 those guys' time. We're going to have all the weekend breakdowns. We're going to have our own little pregame seggies. So we've been ironing those out. I think we're at a really good point with where we're at with these seggies. We're really excited to drop these seggies. Cody has a monologue that we're going to announce and drop before that episode begins on Sunday morning. So it's just another avenue of where the War Room's going. And that's, again, thank you to everyone who has been following the whole journey from start. So just remember, you got to subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Let's get those sub numbers up, because this is just another avenue of what we're doing to bring you guys something that we love to do. And this pregame show is going to be really special to us, and we're very excited. So it was Matt's okayest idea ever. We're super thrilled that he came up with this idea. And so start looking forward to Sunday mornings and starting with the War Room pregame show.
Hell yeah. Get your coffees ready, fellas.
Yeah, buddy.
And the smokers ready too for whenever the meat hits the grill.
Show you.
We have the meats.
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, that's not our slogan. Don't steal that.
Yeah,
Okay.
We don't want to get hit. We don't want to get hit with a lawsuit.
I like your curly fries.
I love your curly fries.
Okay, fun fact, I've never had Arby's before. Is it good?
All right, take us home. I can't.
Yeah, take us home.
Bye-bye.
Oh, okay.
I can't do that.
All right, I'll go get Sonic after this just to make you guys happy. How about that?
That's okay.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to West War Room Rivals. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button on the channel, post notifications, all that good stuff so you're alerted on the next episodes. I have a bunch of thank yous. I'm coming back soon. Yes, sir. Right on. AOC, we need you, bud. We definitely need you. Shout out to AOC for watching.
Can you block?
Big. We're gonna need a lot more than just you throwing football, man. We're gonna need.
How do your shoulder pads fit?
I hope they're working. All right, we gotta pay some bills, guys. Let's do this. All right. So first off, we want to thank Troy at Field Ops Kansas. Shout out to them. If you guys need any field markings for your leagues or games, reach out to Troy and the crew. Emporia State Federal Credit Union, Angie and the team over there, Shovik's Banking of Choice, and the War Room's Banking of Choice. So shout out to their team for being partners with the War Room. Also appreciate our affiliate partners in Beard Club and Shake It Golf. Austin is a big proponent of both of those. As you can see, he has a glorious beard, and he is a golfer on his off time. Yes, it is glorious. And then also, too, Matt's repping the gear, but Badger Barrel, and I've got the shirt on. Matt, hit him with the slogan.
In a world of butterflies, be a badger.
You got it. Shout out to Badger Barrel for sending us the smokers. I actually used mine this weekend. I love it. I know that, Cory, you guys mentioned that the weather didn't really call for a smoke, but hopefully this weekend you guys are able to do it. But anyways, if you guys want your own Badger Barrel smoker, hit the link in our description below, and you guys can pick up your own. I highly recommend it. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. Homage, shout out to them. Cory's actually repping their gear right now for the old school Broncos logo, which is what they'll be wearing this weekend, ironically. So get your guys' old school merch. Get your guys' old school merch at Homage. Their link is down below as well. And of course, what War Room shout out would be incomplete in shouting out Jeff and the crew at JBW Solutions. As you guys are watching us from the JBW Solutions studios, thank you guys so much for your partnership and everything. They're veteran-owned, community-driven, safety-focused for all things OSHA, safety compliance. Go find them at jbwsolutionsllc.com for more today. We will be back tomorrow, you guys, for week 8. Oh, Cory, you're flagging me down.
Shout out to my boy Lance. Lance has been a day one OG.
Oh, that's Lance?
That's Lance. What's up, baby? So Lance is an OG. Lance has been a dear friend of mine and my brother's for a very long time. So I'm glad to see he's watching. Lance, much love, buddy.
Absolutely.
We miss you. Can't wait to see you guys again back home. So shout out to Lance.
Right on, Lance.
What's up, Lance?
We'll have to meet up for a smoke and a golf day and get to get to talk to you. So, all right, guys, anything else before we go?
And Watts. Oh man, we got some OGs in here.
Oh shit!
That's my brother. That's
Now
what up,
Cowboy
guys?
fans.
Now Cowboy fans are showing up. That's my brother, baby. Michael, man, guys, we miss you. We love you guys. Stay safe back home, guys. We love you
You
guys.
haven't been a DJ for at least 3 decades. Switch the name.
DJ Tanner.
Team
Nice.
win. That's it.
Yeah, guys. Thank you again, guys. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good
We're
one.
out.
Don't forget. We'll see you.